So we're talking about Terence McKenna and Rupert Sheldrake YouTube video, which I'll share in the email or in the comments. And so Rupert Sheldrake, these are the notes that I took from this video. Rupert Sheldrake says, there's an inherent memory in all kinds of plants and animals, and that each species has its own collective memory. And this is where the animalistic instincts come from, like a spider knows how to build a web. Each member of the species draws on this collective memory and in turn contributes to it. I'm going to repeat that. Each member of the species draws on this collective memory and in turn contributes to it. The instincts of all animals, like the spinning of the web of the spider, is from this collective memory that we have as a species. This inheritance takes place through a morphic resonant field by an invisible, intangible memory of resonance between the present and past organisms of the same kind. So why am I sharing this with you? Because this is a starseed journey, okay? Starseed journey, this is a starseed collective. We're getting together as starseeds. We want to understand what we are as starseeds and how we're working as starseeds on planet Earth. So this is part of it. This is part of the intellectual knowledge to start to integrate into the energy stuff that we do in the last half of this journey together. So consciously, what we're doing as starseeds is we're bringing, as we awaken and as we remember who we are and where we came from in this greater love and this greater light and this greater consciousness of what we are awakening this, and we are contributing our knowledge to the mass consciousness, or as Rupert is saying, the collective memory, the morphic resonant field. So just by being who we are and awakening our own stuff, we are contributing how to do that to the collective. Okay, you've heard about the 100 monkey theory, right? So the 100 monkey theory is that you put all these monkeys on an island. After 100 monkeys learn how to do one task, after 100 of them learn how to do this one task, this one new task, then all monkeys all over the entire planet just spontaneously start to understand how to do the task, and they just start picking it up and they just do it. That's the 100 monkey theory. And that's been applied to this new age movement, is that as 100 or 100,000 or whatever the number is on the human scale, as 100 of us learn a new task or a new aspect of consciousness, it is transferred through the morphic field to the collective. So that's what we're doing, guys, as starseeds. Okay, and then there was something else I wanted to share with you about that. So I'm going to share with you a little side experience that I had. So several years ago, we did a ceremony. There were 3 of us girls. We were doing this Venus ceremony. There was like this planetary alignment with Venus and the moon and the earth all at once. It was, I don't know, 5 years ago or so. Anyways, we're doing this ceremony, and I picked up a drum and I started to just like put a little beat on the drum. And all of a sudden, I just felt this sort of energy come into my body, and I started moving with the drum, and I started dancing with the drum, and I started doing all of these elaborate, specific movements. And walking around in the circle of this ceremony that we were doing. And after I got about halfway, 3/4 of the journey around, I had this conscious realization that what was happening through my body was a ceremony of honoring the 4 directions through sound and movement and intention through my body. And what was happening was spirit was coming through and moving me. And it was a spirit of an indigenous person. Upon completion of this, my understanding was that nothing is lost to us. All of this information that we imagine has been lost, like the libraries of Alexandria that have been burned, the information that we think we've lost from these ancient traditions and ancient religions, and this consciousness of evolution that we imagine has been lost through the ages, it's not lost. It's actually in a vibrational dimension that we can access with our consciousness as we tune up into the frequency of it. So that's what I'm sharing with you again, and this is this morphic field of resonance that we're tuning into as we move into the journeys that we do together, and as we do the meditations, and as we do the activations, and as you listen to the different ways to align your energy body and tune in, that's what you're gaining access to. You're gaining access to this library of information that's in the morphic field of the collective. And you can start to tune your dial to what kind of information you want to receive. So what's happening right now on the planet is that there's a lot of people that are awakening. There's a lot of empaths that are awakening, but the sensory mechanisms that bring information into the consciousness, they're all open. And we haven't learned, most of us haven't learned or haven't been taught how to manage our energy system so that we're only bringing in the energy that is serving us at the time. Okay, so what we're doing as we begin to manage our energy system and learn how to turn our energy bodies on and how they work is we begin to fine-tune what station we are the antenna of. So instead of receiving all of the information from the psychic field of the collective, we tune our radio station up higher and higher and higher so that we're getting the information and the vibration from the ascended consciousness, the higher dimensions of consciousness, and then we bring that down into our bodies and into the earth plane, into the 3D. That's the point of the starseed. That's why we had to incarnate on the planet. We had to get into the bodies so that we could bring this information down and act as the receiver and then the transmitter into the collective to help the collective. Am I making sense, you guys? Sometimes I just go off, and thanks. Thank you. Keep going. Okay, so those were some info that I wanted to share with you. Do you want more? Do you want more info? Okay, cool. So the next little piece that came through for me was a video from Alan Watts, The Nature of God. He's another brainiac that I love to listen to. And I'll include that in the links as well. One really interesting piece that kind of blew my mind was, he was, and I'm going to paraphrase because I didn't re-listen to this for you beforehand, but let me see if I can. Give you an example. Okay, I got one. Hold on. Okay. All right, so Alan Watts says that, was saying, and again, I'm paraphrasing, he's saying that when we look at something like this, which is a piece of paper, right, with a cactus drawn on it, we're looking at the cactus, and all of our attention and awareness is on the cactus. And so we think, oh, this is a cactus, right? But what we're not really paying attention to is the field or the paper that holds the cactus. Okay, so our minds are trained to focus on the cactus, the object, rather than the field that holds the cactus, the paper. And what he's saying is that the object that we focus on, the object inside of the field, is the masculine principle, and the field itself is the feminine principle. So why is this important to us? This is why it's important to us, because our minds are geared to look at the object and not the field. However, the field is where it's at. Okay, so here I'm sitting here, this is me as an object, but the field around me is holding me. And the field around us all contains so much information. It's like the dark matter of space. So if you look up in the sky at night, you see the stars, and you're trained to see the stars. But the stars are sitting in a field of space. We think that it's empty space. It's not empty space. It's a field. It's something, it's a container that's holding us all. And not only is it a container, the sky is a container holding the stars, but we are also being held by that sky and that space. We are in it, and we are of it. And it doesn't stop up there. The space doesn't stop up there. It comes all the way down and around us. This field of space that's around our physical bodies is the same field of space that's holding the stars. Are you guys following me? Are you going, is this happening for you? Okay, because that was what was happening for me. I was going like, whoa. So again, we translate that to what we're doing as starseeds is this field around us is holding all of us. There is no separation between Brooke and Genevieve and Anne and Claire and Molly, Kate, Rosemary, Drivis, Hawaii, and iPhone. There's no separation here. Okay, the field that's around us extends everywhere. So we're gathering together, our consciousness, our minds are gathering together on this computer screen, but really we're connected. Here we are. This space is connecting us. There's no separation here. It's infinite. Now, I've talked a lot about the Awakening the Light Body class, which I was supposed to start teaching on Saturday, and I didn't. So that's going to be postponed. But the Awakening the Light Body class starts to train your consciousness to move out into the field and then to bring information back into your consciousness. That's what this course does through practice, training your consciousness to move out into the field, receive the information, and bring it back. Terence McKenna also talks about some really fascinating stuff. He talks about the Gaia mind. And one story that he shares on a few of his videos is that he was in his garden in Hawaii, in the botanical garden, and there was a dead tree, and there was this big limb that reached out over the garden. And there at the bottom of this tree, he had planted this hallucinogenic vine, native vine. And the vine had grown up and up over this entire tree, except over that limb. And it bothered him that the vine didn't grow over that limb. It bothered his sense of symmetry, and he wanted it to grow over that limb. And he was sitting in the garden, he was looking at it, and he was thinking about getting a ladder and starting to weave the vine around that limb. And as he was staring at it and thinking about this, the limb fell off the tree. And so, so his mind was like, the vine somehow knew that the limb couldn't hold it, that it was unsafe domain to grow on. So somehow this vine knew through the vibrations of the tree and the wind, but there was a consciousness within the vine that told it not to grow out over that limb. And so what I'm sharing this with you is because there's a consciousness within you and within your field, okay, that extends. So when we place our awareness out into the field, it's like we're touching the future, or we're touching the experiences of things with our senses, and we're gathering that information back. And as we train our brain to interpret that energy, we get those kinds of messages like, don't grow out over that limb because it's dangerous, it's going to fall. Okay? Or more practically, that job probably not good for you, something better around the corner. That's the kind of information that comes out, okay? Or person, right? Or you see a person that you're attracted to, but your senses go out and your senses feel probably not mentally stable. Choose somebody else. Okay, so that's the kind of information that the field picks up from the vibrational energy that's in this space, in this field. So I'm sharing that with you because that's how I live my life. That's how I live my life almost all the time. You know, I'm not a master by any means, but when there's big things going on for me, I'm meditating, I'm in my field, I'm discerning information. So we were talking about the raw content, and earlier we were saying how the earth, in the raw content, they were sharing that the earth is moving from third density consciousness to fourth density consciousness, which is moving from the individual to the group consciousness. And we shared a little bit about that. In the raw content, they talk about the wanderers. And as I'm listening to this, I'm thinking, oh, this is just another name for what we now call the Starseeds. This is 20 years ago. Is it more than 20 years? It was 40 years ago. My God, the 80s. So the Starseeds, what we call the Starseeds now, I'm pretty sure that they're talking about the wanderers. So I'm going to give you a little bit of info that I gleaned from this other YouTube video, which I'll put in the link. It's called Wanderers, Starseeds, and the New Earth by Brian Scott. It was one of the best ones that I listened to. So I'm just reading what he said. These wanderers and starseeds went in groups of souls, having known each other from lifetime to lifetime. Often starseeds will end up meeting people in their lives, and there are groups that form. So here we are. Once again, these souls have incarnated upon the earth in many areas all around the earth. These souls work for the upliftment of the planet and the dawning of the age of reason at the end of this planetary cycle. Having formed the light lines and the light centers around the planet. Many of these souls have worked alone, and they now join with others so that strength may be given to all. And so the web of light that is now woven around the planet may be vitalized to its highest capacity. And there's more, but that's the most important stuff. So for today. So welcome, Starseeds. And what we're going to do in our journey today is we are going to connect to our web of light, our support team of light. We're going to connect to our family of light, and we're going to receive this energetic support into our physical bodies and into our consciousness from our family of light. And then we're going to, in turn, share that with each other, and then share that with the collective.